So what concerns me is that you have, again, this WEF partnership against cybercrime. They link not just Bitcoin in terms of its existence as a driver of cybercrime, but any sort of Bitcoin having any sort of value of significance. Right. So essentially, what they say there is that in order to stop cybercrime, you should not just stop people from being able to use Bitcoin as a currency. You should essentially target Bitcoin and drive its value down to zero. Because as long as it has value, it's still a driver of cybercrime. So that's pretty crazy. And if you consider, the insane efforts that are technically really illegal of the U.S. government right now to stop, for example, banks from engaging in crypto business, like you had with Signature Bank, for example. I mean, that's totally insane what happened there, and really egregious. If this type of activity continues, which is likely, what we could see could be truly unprecedented stuff, like efforts to completely illegalize the use of Bitcoin as a currency. Now, would that actually be able to work? Would people still be able to get around that? It depends on how they do it, and it depends on how successful this dragnet of surveillance and this effort to completely upend privacy, how it actually goes.
Whitney Webb posits that the sudden interest of major financial institutions like BlackRock in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is not coincidental. She suggests it's part of a larger scheme aimed at controlling, outlawing, or driving Bitcoin's price to zero. In her recent interview with Natalie Brunell, investigative journalist and author, Whitney Webb warns that government and powerful institutions seek to co-opt and manipulate Bitcoin to suit their agendas. This contradicts Bitcoin's original ethos of decentralization and liberation from centralized institutions and corrupt governments. However, Webb also provides insight into why the situation isn't entirely bleak, emphasizing the importance for investors to understand the landscape they're navigating. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out daily 5-minute crypto newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now.
Unfortunately for me, I do hold some Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, when you're facing, when it seems like a major economic crisis is waiting in the wings, Bitcoin, just like gold, you can't eat it, right? So there's certain things that I think people should do to prepare that involve, taking care of your more immediate needs, maybe having a food store, having plans like that about securing, your basic needs for you and your family in some type of crisis. But at the same time, too, with Bitcoin, I think it's important to keep in mind, there is a lot of technology that certain people use to try and keep their Bitcoin or their cryptocurrency transactions in general for being surveilled. But me personally, knowing what I know about the national security state, I don't really have any illusions of privacy in that regard. So, I think people need to keep this stuff in mind and be realistic. But ultimately, I do really like the ethos of a lot of Bitcoiners, because they really are at the frontier of fighting a lot of these encroachments on basically what is the end of privacy for Americans. But I think there's a lot of other ways that this needs to be tackled as well. And one of it, there was a really good article that I read the other day, written in Off Guardian, which is a UK outlet, and it was essentially arguing that our slavery to convenience in the form of the smartphone is essentially what's being used to push us into this paradigm. And I was interested listening to this interesting interview the other day by a guy named E.B. Tucker, and he was sort of talking about this cyber attack paradigm that is talked about a lot in these WEF policy papers, and how what they his theory about what they could do is there's this cyber crime, this cyber attack, your phone starts working, and the federal government tells everyone, oh, your money's not safe, so for your security, we're transferring your holdings in this or that, regardless of what it's in, into CBDC tokens or something like that, or some other sort of paradigm like that. I think people need to be really aware of that and have some sort of, cold storage option for Bitcoin, or something like that, where if that is the way they try and get people onboarded to CBDC, whether they like it or not, which is, more likely than not, to be honest. People need to be prepared for that in the Bitcoin community and have, a really spend some serious time thinking about, if this stuff does come to pass, what are you going to do? And if you want to continue using Bitcoin, how are you going to, ensure that you will be able to use it, even if the regulatory and, law enforcement, gets involved trying to go after Bitcoiners in a very aggressive way. I think we don't want to sleepwalk into any of these sorts of situations. So, even though it sounds kind of dire, it's just important for people to be aware of what the stakes are and what these people are planning. Otherwise, you might be caught unprepared, right? Some of the policies of this partnership are completely insane. One of the ones I write about in my two-part series on them is how they're basically lobbying to merge law enforcement with Wall Street banks, and then at the same time with banking regulators. So, and this is all allegedly under the guise of stopping potential financial cybercrime. That hasn't happened yet, but if it did happen, it would be so catastrophic. So to prevent it, we have to merge, again, law enforcement agencies with Wall Street and banking regulators. So first of all, merging Wall Street with their regulators is crazy talk. Yeah, so I guess the model people can look to for this has actually already been implemented in Russia. So of course, Russia's central bank is working on a CBDC, but there's also the Spur coin that was launched by Sberbank, which I believe is Russia's biggest bank. And I think the Russian government is the majority owner of Sberbank, but the guy that runs Sberbank, Herman Graf, is a devoted, what would you call him? Like a devoted follower of Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, very much pushing for, the use of biometrics as payments and a lot of this other stuff that sort of gets referred to as, a coming technocracy or the rollout of the fourth industrial revolution. And so it's very likely that JP Morgan is positioning itself to sort of be that equivalent in the United States. For example, you've already have them in the past few weeks openly push for mass adoption of biometric payments. They're going to start making it available to their clients, paying with your face, paying with your palm. Of course, Amazon is attempting to roll these types of payment methods out as well. And then more recently, you have Jamie Dimon in the past couple of days saying that private land, private property should be seized by the government for the purpose of developing so-called clean energy for climate change. So that tells you
15-minute cities, 15-minute cities. People should really look into those too.
Yeah, so Dimon is, for people that don't know, openly affiliated with the World Economic Forum, and he supports a lot of these policies as well. And JP Morgan, after any big consolidation move, is definitely one of the too big to fail banks that the federal government will move to protect at all costs. And I think Dimon's very aware of that. And essentially what will happen, I think, is, JP Morgan saying now we're rolling out this feature where you can voluntarily pay with your face or your fingerprints or a palm scan. But what happens when JP Morgan says, well, actually, we've decided for reason X, Y, and Z that this is the only way you'll be allowed to pay from now on. You give a bank like JP Morgan all that power, it's not going to be hard for them to do. And unfortunately, because of the Silicon Valley bank crisis and the resulting aftermath, I mean, you had people in the days after that pretty much saying that one of the big winners was already at that point, just days after the collapse, JP Morgan Chase, because so many people were opening and moving accounts there because the federal government was essentially signaling, if you go to one of these too big to fail mega banks, your money will be safe.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's hard not to see this as a concerted policy push to get people to feel like their money is only safe in one of these giant mega banks that's on board for these agendas, whether it's CBDCs or biometric payments, programmable money. And I think it's pretty clear that Jamie Dimon is definitely going to be on board for all of that. So, if you're going to put your money with JP Morgan Chase because you think it'll be safe, well, yeah, it might be safe in a sense, but at what cost ultimately to your economic freedom and your civil liberties? I think these are the questions that people should be, asking themselves. What's weird though? The Federal Reserve had no problems approving Farmington State Bank, the weird bank that Alameda Research and FTX poured millions of dollars into, that was previously a bank with like an insanely low number of deposits in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's like a one-room bank in rural Washington, with really no presence, and then they're able to get really rapid approval by the San Francisco Fed to become, a member bank. I mean, it's just really crazy.
Yeah.
So apparently, if you're tied up with the right people in crypto, you can get approval from the Fed, but if you're not tied up with the right people, then you're not.
Investigative journalist Whitney Webb underscores the intricate relationship between major financial institutions and the realm of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, highlighting potential complexities and challenges. Webb's insightful commentary emphasizes the necessity for vigilance and a deep comprehension of these powerful entities' motives to navigate the digital currency landscape effectively. Her cautionary stance warns of the potential compromise of Bitcoin's fundamental ethos, serving as a wake-up call for both investors and enthusiasts. It stresses the importance of remaining informed and prepared for the maneuvers of influential institutions in the crypto sphere. However, amidst the cautionary tone, Webb also offers optimism by shedding light on silver linings and strategies to safeguard Bitcoin's decentralized principles. This underscores the ongoing importance of keeping abreast of the evolving crypto landscape. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.